you wanna see just a little bit and tell Mohammed whatever you need to cut it off. Maybe just show 2, 3.
This Guatemalan map scarf was designed by Ali Sultane. Ali sees civilization as the aggregates of disparate entities. Living as a nation requires people to be tolerant of one another. Guatemala is itself a tapestry of different people, traditions, and terrain. The idea of the Guatemalan map as a scarf, along with the technique of sewing, binding, and joining its pieces, all signify the rich diversity of
classroom
country and its people. The scarf's pieces, shaped like the 22 different regions of Guatemala, were constructed to fit together in a variety of different ways. You can use all of the pieces of this fabric map or just some of them, choosing to button the regions together by color or by shape. It can be worn as a scarf or as a poncho, or just a few pieces can be joined to form accessories such as bracelets or anklets. The design of the piece can change with your mood.
Some of the stitchings looks nice, some of them not. That's why for the first scarf we picked this one because both sides look the same. But if she show you the other side, you can see how different it is.
Finka's design is elegant and comes from an understanding of weaving and embroidery. Her concept resonates with the people from Lake Atitlan since they live by the water and fishing are an integral part of their lives. This scarf was made in 2 stages. First, the fiber was dyed and woven, and second, the pattern was embroidered. The result is softer than the pure cotton and also The DNA for her scarf comes from the Uniscape proposal that was constructed in 1999 for the summer program at New York Museum of Modern Art. The project was important for it marked the first time the designers were able to bridge the digital design process of virtual modeling with the building of a structure. Anna was the only woman in the group of 20 weavers with the diligence to stick with the project through the difficult time of experimentation, of development.
Okay, is the last process, the natural dye. Is now I need put on the B of the A,
So the L will dry and it will change the color.
Her first attempt was beautiful. We made changes before we were happy with the final result. No other local artisan has been willing to attempt a weaving of this technical difficulty. Together, we invented a new technique. Anna deserves credit for this evolution in Guatemalan weaving artistry, and she remains the only local artisan willing and able to do this work.
You can see the color is totally different, but as she said, within 5 hours the color may change. And this is a chemical dye. So we're going to try to match the color as much as we can, but it's based on pH of the soil, it's based on when you cut the flower and of the humidity. So we can never ever produce every single day the same color. If we're going to make natural dyes of this color one day, let's say 10 pounds, we get the same color. But if we do it tomorrow, you get slightly different color. That's the beauty of it. That's not an error, right?
Sorry, Mae-ling, we skipped over the middle because you had said it too long. Sorry about that. It would be good if people could see the rest of them too.
The design that inspired Anna Dyson's scarf is a texture from the nanoscale image of gallium arsenide, a toxic material from high-tech solar cell. It is a beautiful image that almost looks like blades of grass. The interpretation and translation of this photo image to textile was extremely challenging. To capture the feeling, texture and color of the abstract image, we experimented with the yarn from unraveled old sweater, silk, rayon and combination of all the thread, yarn and fiber we could find in the area. More than 5 weavers tried to create the right design and produce about 10 different prototypes. Some of the women refused to attempt this one. Finally, Doña Vicenta, a lovely 60-year-old woman who said with a smile, "Everything is possible." She stuck with this project and drew from her years of weaving experience to create this remarkable piece. The final product is a testament to the patience and creative problem solving of the women to their enormous talent. The irregular blades of grass incorporate the unraveled sweater, silk fibers and rayon, and the result is a stunning addition to the scarf collection.
This was a sample. This was attempt to figure out how to translate Anna's design into a weaving.
This is the process of design, and Anna Dyson like this, so you can see it almost looks the same. And we invent. This is like growing grass. I think this one is optical fibers.
Daco's design is derived from a facade of the Italcementi's new Research and Innovation Center that he designed for Richard Meyer and partner in 2010. The design was granted the European Green Building Award that year by the European Commission. The inspiration for this project is pure Italian passion, culture and tradition of the crafts. The partial sketch we work from implies layers, texture and movements of line that are evocative of the reinforced by the process of creating handcrafted Guatemalan weavings. The lines of the scarf draped over the human form flow softly. The weaving of this piece required intense concentration of great skill. We were lucky to have Gloria, an expert local weaver, take on this project. The innovative and beautiful weaving of this scarf took 6 weeks to develop and another 48 days to create.
Dita, I don't know if you're talking, but I think you might be on mute.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Recording in progress.
Oh,
Are we gonna get an echo?
okay. Okay. So
In 2011, an unusual joint venture was begun between 7 renowned New York architects and a group of women artisans from Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. Using traditional backstrap looms and sustainable materials, including recycled fibers and naturally dyed cotton thread, the Mayan weavers of Ecolibri Women's Group interpreted and translated design images provided by the architects. The result was a collection of 7 extraordinarily beautiful scarves. We call this unique melding of ancient Mayan skills and urban design the Scarfitecture Project. The 7 textiles were displayed at a show in New York City in the fall of 2011. The great success of the show encouraged us to expand the project. Proceeds from the Scarfitecture auction have funded a new workshop in Guatemala for the women artisans and are supporting the implementation of new designs and new products. The non-profit organization Ecolibri is delighted to continue this partnership between the women textile artisans of Lake Atitlan and the talented urban architects.
Thank you for that, and we'll share the video with the students. Okay. So should we hand over to Dita?
yeah, sure. And then we can go over a few numbers, like a few design projects at the end, if there's time. And if there's not, we can upload it to the website if you feel like we're running out of time. We have just a few furniture design and architecture projects with and art projects with textiles, but we'll upload that to the website. If we run out of time, just let us know. You pace it from your end, Mae-ling.
Fantastic. Okay.
Okay,
Let's
great. Okay.
start to Dita and then pick up after during the conversation. Okay.
Guys, would you like us to talk about the bricks versus Adobe construction, or would you like us to talk about the biomaterials for the weaving?
They're in the room now, and they have the reels in BeamLab that you prepared for them. So do you want to present through those through the reels there?
Yeah, you can start the reels and see them. If Mohammed be so kind and put the reels around.
Yeah, he has them up. So Mohammed, if you want to go to the first one.
The first one is the Guatemalan geography. It's like the map.
Great, we have that up.
Okay.
Yes, we have that up now on the screen.
You have it up?
Can you share, Mohammed, so that Dita sees what you have in the room?
Yes, give me 1 sec.
Dita, you can just start talking to it.
Yeah, I can talk about about the Ecolibri. So Ecolibri, as you already heard, is a non-profit organization which has partnered with the indigenous community around the Lake Atitlan since 2004 to advance education, nutrition, health, environment, gender equality, economy, independence, and creativity for the communities surrounding Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. We are highly thought partners by local and international parties in the development and promotion of social enterprises and community improvements programs. Our core purpose is to uplift indigenous community in the region fraught with the poverty, malnutrition, limited education, lack of opportunity for the poor health, substandard living condition, violence, and disease by leveraging international networks to provide people with the access to resources that will have a lasting impact upon the future generation. We carry out our work by leading and promoting local and international resources in the establishment of respectful and sustainable projects and activities. Through our work, we collect and analyze key data to shape our decision-making process side by side with the local communities leader. We collaborate with the international and local universities, bringing students to work on projects and programs to share intercultural practices and experience. If you can please move to the second slide, which is about the Lake Atitlan. So Lake Atitlan is in the Guatemalan highlands. It's the Sololá department of southwest of Guatemala. Yeah, this one, thank you. Atitlan means between waters in Nahuatl language. Atala in the word for water, and Titlan mean in between. The lake has a maximum depth about 350 meters, with the average depth about 220 meters deep, and the surface area, it's about 130 square kilometers. The Atitlan is endorheic lake feeding into two nearby rivers rather than draining into the ocean. It is shaped by deep surroundings, escarpment, and 3 volcanoes on its southern flank. The lake basin is a volcanic in origin. It's a fulfilled enormous caldera formed by eruption 84,000 years ago. The culture of the towns and village surrounding the lake, it's influenced by Mayan people and the current community. The area supports extensive coffee, avocado, orchards, and variety of farm crops. Significant agriculture crops include corn, onion, beans, squash, tomato, cucumber, garlic, chile verde, and exotic fruit. The lake itself is a significant food source for the larger indigenous population. Yeah, we can maybe move to another slide, which is a climate. Thank you. Guatemala is a country of volcanoes, mountains, beaches on the Pacific Ocean and Caribbean Sea. From the Chumatlitan Mountains to the Western Highlands to the coastline of Caribbean Sea and Pacific Ocean, this small country, it's marked by the contrast. Guatemala's 30 volcanoes are still active. So 3 out of 30 are still active. In Guatemala, the climate is tropical, hot all year round in the lowlands, while in the mountains area, it's a little bit of cold and it's chilly and become cooler with increasing altitude. Geographically, the country is divided into 3 zones. The north, there's an area almost entirely occupied by Plains Department of Petén, North Alta Verapaz, and Izabal, with a short stretch of the coastline which goes to the Gulf of Honduras to Caribbean Sea. And in the center, there is a large mountains area where the capital is also located. And finally, the south, we find a thin flat strip south of the mountains overlooking the Pacific Ocean. From December to March, Guatemala can be reached by cool air from United States. And in these cases, the temperature at night can drop below 10 Celsius, which is 50 Fahrenheit, in Guatemala City. In around 13, 15 Celsius is like 55, 59 Fahrenheit in the plains. The country is divided into 4 geographical regions. The central western, low northern plateau, which is mainly jungle, southern volcanic belt, and tropical coast mountain line. The region relies heavily on tourism, with the pandemic halting tourism for 6 months, unfortunately, as the country closed the border in 2020, has greatly affected local livelihood. You can please move the number 4. Thank you very much. Water pollution of the lake from washing clothes in the lake with soaps and detergents. Lake reeds provide some water remediation, but are disappearing sadly. Tourism and public transport both pollutes with the diesel, noise, plastic. Also, municipal water is collected from above and travels to the villages in PVC pipes, which often crack and weather, allowing dirt and pathogens to enter to the water supplies. Lake levels changes between the dry and rainy season. Small agriculture allotments surrounding the landscape, whoever fertilizer and pesticides enter to the ecosystem and wash into the lake. Firewood consumption for cooking is one of the main reasons and contribution factors for land degradation. Many villages do not have the proper infrastructure for the water treatment, and some are directly fed into the lake water. Huge landfill sites also contribute to degrade lake water quality. Okay, if you can please move number 5 about San Juan. San Juan is the village we mainly collaborate with the education, art, water treatment. San Juan has a population of 16,000 people. As a little urban planning exists to create proper infrastructure for water, electricity, and the building, controls leaves many homes unsafe and construction site with untreated labor working. Green spaces do exist in the village, but many families have the space for gardens or roof, small, very limited area. However, this is often not the optimized, as may lack the knowledge and understanding how to grow food.
Hey,
See the
Dita.
slide.
Maybe at this point before we go on, it would be great to, or we could stay on the slide or the previous, so that Juan and others could weigh in on the issue of informal settlements and construction, sort of history of the construction as it pertains to the adobe. So, like maybe one slide previous.
Yeah, that was the next step right now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just want to make sure that we had enough time to talk about that.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I will speed it up. I will just say about the health,
no
water
worries.
quality.
Take your time. I just wanted to make sure that,
Yeah. Thank you very much. So we are talking about the water quality. You can step in, right? The water quality is a great impair because it's an improper agricultural practice that's contaminated the surrounding the ecosystem. And I would like, as you can see on these slides, like adobe housing versus air quality versus water quality. And the next one, if you can move, Mohammed, please, it's about the air quality, and then Juan will talk about the housing, the adobe. So you can see, you can swap between the air and things. The surrounding the lake, land degradation, deforestation cause excessive consumption of firewood is having a devastating impact on the local environment. So I would like to pass the words to Juan, who will talk about the adobe, air, building, and nutrition. If you can talk about the adobe. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to share the screen?
Yes.
Is it possible?
The first presentation 1, on the changes on construction materials. We can share that.
Oh, yeah, sure. You want to share your screen?
Yeah, can we share the screen?
Sure.
You can
As we're doing that, Mohammed, just FYI, the beam 2 is down.
Yeah. Can you see it, guys?
Yeah, we can.
There we go. Yes, so
Scroll.
I made a real fast presentation. First, in case you don't know the bajareque technique, that is with canes that are very important in Mayan culture, and they grow all over the country, and is the Mayan bamboo. And it's very important. It's all over their knowledge, their practices, and also their spirituality. The cane is very important. And then so they practically make a wood house, and then they cover it on both sides with adobe, with clay. And yes. Oh, then yeah.
Yes, it is.
You can see. Wait. Okay, you wanna show it?
Yeah. I don't know if you can guys see it.
No, I don't know if we
With
have
the
a
lighter.
screen.
We also have the real material we brought you to.
That's samples of green cane and also
Dry cane.
dry cane, and they are impermeable, and that's something that's important because they last longer than many other organic materials, woody materials. So that's with the bajareque, and then the other materials that it's lepa. Lepa is the wood, the outside wood when they from logging, and that is rounded in one side. And then there's a lot of other sticks. This hut is made of thatch, of course. It has a little base of clay. They burn a whole clay floor. They put fire on it in different points so they have a ceramic floor of one piece. That's in certain cultures. We have 22 ethnic groups, and according to their environmental differences, they use different materials to adapt to those environmental conditions. So that's they use. There are two different thatch materials. One is the highland grasses that are in cloud forest areas. So they also develop natural waxes that make them impermeable, and they last for like 30 years. They have to, the roof. But in the lower, warmer areas, they use palm leaf, which it degrades faster and is also more prone to fire. And then, well, and now we have industrial materials, all those organic materials, and people used to collect from nature and get together in their society, their neighbors, to make their homes, have changed to industrial materials since the earthquake of 1976 that it made a lot of adobe houses fall because they were adobe with clay tile roofs. So they were heavy. And also that they got burned during the during the violence, the Cold War in the 80s. It was a practice to burn the houses of people that were organic. So they started adopting mainly block of pumice and cement and slabs of concrete, which are very dangerous. It's dangerous in case of a large earthquake that we get them about every 50 years. And then also a lot of tin sheet, which is for poorer people, the fastest and easiest way for them to build is with metal, but it's environmentally really bad and for health. And yes, politicians always in campaign times, they give everybody tin sheets. So here we have some numbers, and I have got what I had on hand, the census, the housing census of 2002 and 2018, and I compared those, and we can see in a graph, this is for the whole country of Guatemala, and we can see how blocks is the greatest growth. It went up from a little over 1 million houses in 2002 to over almost 2.5 million homes that use block as the main wall material. And we see adobe going down, is slanted down, and but we also see wood. The third is close to a 500,000, but compared to how many homes, I can't see them because it's under there. I can see total private households way on your right side. We can see that from 2002, there were around 2.5 million households, and it went up to almost 4 million in 16 years. And so then this is for Solola, which is represented here, the percentage changes. We can see that brick, it only increased 7.2 in that period of time. A block, the second category, increased almost for 100%. Then we have a lot of concrete increasing, just concrete walls that are prefab. And Adobe went down 3.4% in use as wall material. And then wood increased, it's only 11, had a change of only 11, almost 12%. Big increase on tin sheet. That's, and then everything other materials, and the most traditional that are bajareque and lepa sticks and canes, they all decrease a lot. This is for Solola, where we had an increase of 62% in the amount of houses in those 16 years, from 62,890 to 101,000, almost 2,000. And then we can see the change in materials. First, we can see how much pumice block is just a huge increase to almost 70,000 houses that use it. And Adobe was sustained, it decreased. We can see 2002 in blue and 2018 in brown. And we can see which ones are going down. Metal sheet is small. And when we see it by percentage change, we can see that metal sheet increased a lot. So I think that's on another presentation. It's not on this thing. Okay, so I'm done there. I love people's relation to water, and they have it. Okay, so I'm done. Thank you. They have it. I don't have it.
Okay, thank you so much,
Okay.
Warren, for that.
Oh, I can
overview.
share the other one that
You
for
guys want
Dita.
us to share the
Yeah, we can upload, like, because it's a very, very tight course because there's 2 hours and we have like lecture portion and workshop portion. And I know that Mae-ling is really counting seconds on the workshop. So whatever wasn't presented will definitely not go to waste, because it will be okay. Perfect. So Dita, do you want to quickly go into the biomaterials aspect? That would be great.
Yeah, like for currently, you can see here corn materials. That's the corn husk, which we peel. Do
you want to go into full screen mode, Dita? Could you just go into full screen?
Okay.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And then here.
Yeah, open screen and put the first one.
Yeah,
There it is.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, we have put in, yes. Okay.
Yeah, put it on. Put me on. Guys, I want to show you my favorite plant of Guatemala. You see how big it is? Look, this is a one leaf of maguey. You see how giant it is? Everybody see it? So can you put the maguey, the picture?
Sorry, do you know what's?
Those are the maguey plants.
Yeah, in order for us to see how big it is.
These are the maguey plants, guys, so you understand. So this is a very traditional Mayan material. So as you can see, when we put this maguey leaf, the original tradition is that the local guy have a special stone and wooden stick. So they put the maguey leaves on the special stick. It's very traditional and spiritual. They beat it up. After they beat it up, they wash it in the lake. And after sun drying, you get all this beautiful pita, right? This is like a hair-looking fiber. So then from the fiber, the people do the thread, like for the weaving. And from the thread, you can see their textile. This could be used as a carpet, as a carrying things over the head. They use it for fishing nests sometimes too. They have a bags like that. You can see it as a nest. Or Morales, you know?
Bag.
Yeah. As for the design of the textile, we try some material, as you can see, which is dyed with pink natural dye of cochineal. And this is combination of a cotton versus maguey fiber. So it's make this beautiful texture, which is a little stiff, which could be using as a material for building, as a textile, as a hammock, as a racks, anything like that.
and it's totally natural. So it's a natural dye versus natural fiber. That's one of them. Not a fiber, not a material, is a corn, which, as you can see here, this is the material. So we soak the corn husk, as you can see it here, and we woven with the backstrap plume in this material. So the base is cotton, as you can see, and the husk. So it's very, very sturdy. No, go back. It's very sturdy and very traditional. This piece is a natural dye. It's a one dip in the indigo natural cotton. So you can see the difference. So this all is biomaterial for weaving, could be used as a roofing, carpet, shades, anything. And the third one I would like to present, it's is a piece of bamboo with its own husk, and the reeds, which and this is a tool which grows in the lake. So it's totally natural material, which is the next slide, which you see these two things with the reeds on the left corner, which is traditionally used as a petate, which could be used as a mat, which the original indigenous community used to use instead of bed. So you see the thickness.
Beds and chairs.
Yeah, bed and chairs. You see that? That could be also used as a division for the house, roofing, shading, furniture. And at the end, you can use it as a fire, like you can recycle it, burn it. It's a biodegradable.
Well, it lasts a long time, and that's why it was chosen by Mayan people, because it's an aquatic emergent plant, so it's impermeable, and you can actually get it wet and wash it, and it wouldn't rot because the water wouldn't go into the organic part inside the fiber.
So this is still ongoing. People using it on daily basis. This technique didn't die. The only problem is a little bit with the tool, which is slowly disappearing of the lake because of the water rise, right?
Yes, they always have to move it. It's an aquatic crop, so every time the lake level changes, they have to move their parcels of these reeds that are California bulrush. That's how they call it. And it's semi-domesticated by Mayan people and more into totoras in Titicaca.
Okay, this is what we wish to present, like these three materials which are here at the lake. So if somebody have a question.
Mae-ling, do you want to go to questions? And then
maybe
move on
to
a architecture presentation? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this might be a good opportunity for students to ask some questions, and then we can end on the architecture, full circle. Okay, any questions for anybody? I have a very quick one on the 3 Mayan biomaterials you just described. One, I mean, they're in detail, they're so fascinating. I just wanted to understand, what are the seasonal cycles of maguey, corn, and tul? Are there, I don't know, relative to reeds, they have a quick life cycle and they get harvested within a year? And how long do the reed beds last, for example?
Like my personal experience with the maguey, the plants grow 10 years.
You harvest the lower leaves.
You harvest the bottom of the leaves, and also the maguey, believe it or not, is a family of asparagus. It's the asparagus family. So I have them in my garden. So within 10 years, some of them do make a flower which look like a giant asparagus, and when the asparagus come out, the plant die. So they reproduce through the flowers of asparagus, and they reproduce side by side. So when you harvest them, you harvest the bottom leaves so you don't damage the plant.
Yes, it's the same agave, just like what they make tequila from, and they harvest it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And as you can see, the tul, the reels, they are growing around the lake.
Yes, it's California bulrush, and it's been used since ancient times. There's tool used in a pre-classic and formative period, 3,200 years before the present era. And they planted it reproduces sexually, and they take the roots, a root piece, and they tie up a rock and they throw it in the lake. It has to be less than 2 meters deep, and where there's sediment. That's why in this lake are very restricted areas to grow it, because there's a lot of rocky shore. And they harvest, they plant at the beginning of the rainy season in April, May, and they harvest at the end of the year. But plants continue producing. They just prune the mature fibers and put them to dry in the sun. So that's why they harvest in our dry season that starts around December.
And it's very important for the biodiversity of the lake. They lie the eggs there. So
yes,
when the water arrives, there is a problem because the tube disappears.
Yes, they have to move it manually since it's a crop. It's an aquatic crop, a shore crop. So every time the lake changes level, they have to move them, start moving them little line by line, up or down, depending on how the water is varying.
But they are also helping the filtration of the water. So if you have this crop in the bay, they filter all the.
Yes, well, yeah, you build ecosystem, a shore ecosystem, which is important, and also they also grow it in riverbeds, like floodplains, but it only grows like 3 feet high at most. So they only use it for the small mats that are the seeds, and then for large mats are what specialized in the lake, since it's a clear water lake, and they can grow really long fibers, 2 meters long, to make large mats that are for beds. And since ancient times, those who have more wealth have more mats to almost to sleep on.
So you build up the mattress by
build
the
up
beds,
mats if you have the money to buy them, so you have more of a cushion. Yes, yes, softer bedding. But the advantage is that if they don't really get wet, because being an aquatic emergent plant, they have natural waxes that avoid it from getting wet and rot. And that's why they last for a long time. We find them in Mayan tombs.
Fantastic, thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
I was wondering if you could talk more about the sort of lifetime and maintenance required for the buildings that have that wood internal structure that's like covered up in clay.
You're talking about the earlier ones,
Yeah.
which are like a bamboo screen and then plaster with adobe on the sides. Yeah. Did you hear the question?
No, really. It's like echoing. Maybe Mae-ling, you can repeat it because I can hear you well.
Yes, so Kevin was asking about the lifetime and maintenance of the adobe clad bamboo structures that you showed in the beginning.
Yeah, the structure, yeah. The maintenance.
How long do they last?
I don't think I need to go back to that.
No, you don't need to go back, just the maintenance.
They are mostly sweeping the floors, but something very important in terms of the household ecology is that they cook inside with firewood, and that creates oils and so on in the smoke that keeps the thatch roof free of insects and other animals, and that's how it makes a coating inside the thatch. So that's very important. Now, some people, because of the beauty in the architecture of having thatch tied up, is really a beautiful roof, and environmentally is very pleasant. And they don't, if they use it just as a recreational house, bugs would eat it very fast. So it's important to find a solution if it's not used as a traditional house that has fire inside for cooking and warming. And then that's the smoke is the way that for cooking is what keeps does the maintenance of keeping it. Then thatch that has cooking with firewood or bio fuel constantly, it can last much longer than if this treatment is not in the house.
So Juan, with that, I know this is very common with thatch ceilings, like in the Scottish Highlands, they also have the biomass that is burnt on the hearth, and then all of that smoke gets accumulated on the ceiling. It helps with, as you're saying, the material longevity, but also they take it out once every 14 years, and that becomes the cover crop for the oats that are grown right outside. Is there some kind of cycle where that soot-filled ceiling becomes integrated into the agriculture, or it's mainly just burnt?
There's thatch roof is really not used much anymore. Like here in the lake area, it was like 15 years ago, we had the last thatch, and it's become going to extinction where they, for ancient times, they grew it because it grows in 2,000 meters up in the mountains. And I really have to search it. I don't want to give you an answer. I want to see. Mayans recycle everything. And the only thing archaeologists find is rock, obsidian, and ceramic. And then they had a lot of biological materials. That was a biological culture. And so I will find out and write back to you what they used to do. I have to ask some elders what they did with the thatch once they replaced it. Okay? I really don't know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Can
you hear?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm curious, what's the local climate, what kind of challenges does local climate presents to the buildings, like whether it's like more like about humidity and ventilation, or if it's about like energy conservation, like and insulation, and how does this construction method like respond to it? Because it seems to me like, knowing that it's in a tropical region, like not as ventilated as I would assume, and it's more like, I don't know. I'm just curious on this front.
Can I answer? Well, I didn't get the whole question, but I heard about climate change and adaptability and resilience.
Juan, just to recap the question, so we're looking at a photo of the house that is up right now, which is, I think it's the Pumice Cement house, block house.
Yes.
How do those houses deal with climate? What are sort of the issues, from a energy health standpoint?
That's a big problem. That's a big problem because the traditional architecture of Mayan ethnic groups was adapted to have ventilation, because even if you had almost a closed thatch, then they always have a space in the high part of the walls, mostly if they were sticks or cane and so on, where it will ventilate. Block houses are causing a lot of health problems. Besides the threat of death or loss of investment in case of an earthquake, because we don't have construction codes for seismic resistance. And plus, cement is a new material in builders, and they don't always manage it the best way. And so a lot of the slabs crack, and it will be a big disaster the day we have a large earthquake like we always had it through history. And so the lack of ventilation, humidity, since pumice and cement together is really a bad material to handle temperature and humidity.
But they're also building them high up,
Yes,
and houses have no second floor.
Yes, yes, adobe for sure is environmentally a much better material, because it's fresh when it's hot, and then it's warm when it's cold. And I think that's something people don't realize. And I think that the main reason for people to buy this, besides the past history of having military burn their huts, or the adobe falling because of having heavy clay tile roofs instead of thatch, is that it takes much more time to build an adobe house. While with pumice blocks, that there's no quality control, how resistant they are, and so on. They can just go to the hardware store and buy 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000, whatever they want. And then steel, there's two qualities of steel. One doesn't meet ISO quality, and in case of an earthquake, it's all the beams and all the concrete and metal rebar is going to break mostly or collapse. So we have a big problem of risk, of health, lower environment, but they made it so it's something that doesn't burn. And they also made it a sort of a status symbol for now. Socially, they think that having a concrete slab is a better house, is a sign of a socioeconomic well-being, but environmentally it's less quality and more risk. So we have a problem here with that.
Yeah, it's a lack of education. It's the same, like, I'm sorry to compare with this, but it's like you have home beautiful cooking of your family sitting around the table, right? Reconnecting with the nature, having foraging, having the food from your garden, or you order prefabricated pizza, which you don't know what you're getting, and then get a steak. That's exactly what the building is. It's bad comparison, but this is what it is.
Well, and to the point, like my concern, a great concern, mostly living in a lake basin, is sanitation to try to reduce pollution of water, because all goes to the lake. And people use latrines, and some had cornfields they buried their every time they have their biological needs and integrate the nutrients back to the crops. But now since cities are growing, a lot of people have toilets just as a status symbol. They still have the latrine outside, the outhouse, but they have a toilet in a room that is not even connected to pipes. It's just to show it that they have a toilet. So it's a complex issue, but it's a lot of cultural and social economic issues involved in the adoption of these new materials, which of course the cement industry loves it.
Thank you for that, Juan.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Maybe this might be a good moment to transition to Anna on some of the architectural and furniture byproducts, I would say. But maybe also, Juan, just to comment on what you just said, I think one of the opportunities in terms of integrating fibers into earth masonry might improve structural and breathability of these materials, where, you know, we see the poor performance with the concrete masonry units. So hopefully we can also get to discuss that at some point. But Anna, I'll pass it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Juan, for that. That was very, very interesting. So let me just go. I have to go very, very quickly because I know that we have to do the workshop and give you guys time to also ask questions about the assignment. So I'm going to skip over most of these slides, but there's a few just major points that I want to stress about the issue. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the whole issue of waste, and in fact, and I regret that we didn't have time for Dita's second film, because when you watch that at home, which you will, all of you, I hope, there's the water film, and then there's also the one on waste and recycling fibers and other things for waste, because this is going to be a major issue. But I mean, in terms of I think there's a huge renewal of interest in textiles in the architecture and art worlds for so many different reasons, but really, and we're going to be assigning a really nice article on the interrelationship between the digital, the tactile, and a renewed sort of a convergence between textile design, basically interwoven conditions that we start to have also within emerging materials, emerging design. Increasingly, the intelligence of our design is being is being, in a sense, subsumed into the material at smaller and smaller scales. So this really lends itself to textiles, because we can start to actually put very, very thin coatings or types of intelligence into our designs. And this is actually this is an artist, actually, this is not necessarily related to this issue, but more the issue of the interconnectivity across scales that we can start to have with textiles. The other thing that's really, really important as a concept, of course, historically, is that as we've moved in structural engineering, if you can look at a kind of trajectory from sort of, let's say, the Renaissance onwards, you start to see a quest for greater and greater dematerialization, if you will. So on the complete other end of what we saw with the ancient bamboo structures, which, by the way, you can see wattle and daub or akin things all over the world, of woven branches or bamboo or timber type materials, most of which actually initially would have been what we would now call forest detritus or found materials that we take and that gets inserted inside an earthen structure and reinforced. So we can say that that's at the origins of many, many different bioclimates of architecture. But on the most, let's say, advanced sort of structural engineering, we have this idea, and this is a good example of obviously modern fabric structures, where the idea of very, very quick deployability and a really, really quick way to, in this case, if you can think about how massive this structure is, it's extremely lightweight, it's extremely packable, can be opened and closed in literally minutes. So we're talking about the fold, which will be one of the most important operations that we have. And of course, pneumatics, which is another really key thing. You can think about everything from the most advanced camping gear, which, by the way, is incredible in terms of evolved engineering. If you look at what tents, like even just a North Face tent that you can buy for a couple $100, what kind of value that gives you as a kind of shelter. There's a reason why Housing and Secure go immediately towards these technologies, because they have so much value for what they're offering, especially in terms of deployability. But then, of course, going all the way up to, for example, this example with blow up Yokohama Newman for use, just being able to have these kinds of pop-up kind of conditions within a few minutes. Once again, I'm not going to get into the numbers because we don't have time, but you can review those. But in case anybody is doubtful that the textile waste industry, because of fast fashion in advanced economies, is at an architectural scale, we're literally talking, in this case, is the Goodwill image from the Goodwill, and we're associated with the Goodwill in Connecticut. In case anybody wants massive amounts of textile waste, we can definitely hook you up, because in this case, we're talking, they literally have truckloads that they have to offload. They can't find a use for all of this. So all of these clothes that you see in this image going to be thrown out. This is the scale in every city where that we're talking about for that kind of waste. And most of these fibers, by the way, I just want to say, is there's a big problem with most modern textiles, as opposed to what Dita is showing, which is biological or natural. There's a reason we want to go into natural, and we can get into more detail on that in the coming weeks. But with synthetic fibers, they are too short, and they basically need to be woven into some type of resin matrix. This is Newman again. In order to be structural. So the recycling of, that's Ali Soltani, by the way, we don't have a lot of time for this, his work with Gaetano Pache. The reason why we don't have a lot of leeway, and only 1% of synthetic fibers are recycled into future clothing, is because they are not like natural fibers, what Dita showed, the lengthwise bamboo or cotton or corn or any of these natural fibers that we would work with. They're very, very short, and they deteriorate very quickly. If you've ever noticed that if you wash a synthetic shirt 10 times versus washing a natural cotton shirt 10 times. At the end of 10 washes, your cotton shirt, if it is truly 100% cotton, as Dita said, a lot of times it gets marked and it's not really, but if it is, you will definitely be able to reuse, upcycle, or potentially just keep wearing it because it's natural, and the natural cotton really lasts for a much longer time. Even though I have to say cotton is one of the worst culprits on the global wastewater, this figure down at the bottom. So we're responsible for massive amounts of greenhouse gas emissions, massive amount of water degradation, more than energy and aviation combined, as we said, which is, and this issue of this downward trend, that people are throwing out more and much faster, twice as much as we did in 2020. When we look at it from the standpoint of the economy, $46.7 billion of clothing in the UK alone is unworn. So, and of course, there's a massive human cost to all of this. Who are the human beings who are affected by that industry? That's going to be an ongoing discussion all semester. But the last couple of concepts that I just want to leave you with, of course, is this issue of design for waste. What can we learn from textiles for the issue of design for waste? Well, the issue of computerization and fitness to purpose relative to, as we said, the weight of something, how much material is going into it is going to be critical. What kind of morphology does it have at edge conditions? And then what kind of shape morphology does it need to take? The human body is very complex. And if you think about morphologically, and if you think about what a piece of clothing has to do, in terms of the seaming and in terms of the deployability, literally how much it has to move, all the things it has to do, it is actually a very complex design. If we think about bioclimatic design, we are not talking really about boxes anymore. We really aren't. A box is extremely limited in terms of how it can respond to the bioclimate. First of all, just like a human body, the bioclimate moves. And just like a human body, the bioclimate does not want to be in the same position at any one time or another. So this idea of deployability of textiles, the idea of fitness to purpose, we mentioned Gaetano Pesce earlier, but he's one of the trailblazers of looking at that issue of both deployability, bioresponsiveness, and recycling or upcycling. So in this case, this is felted. This is an entire fabric structure. It's from several decades ago. I'm sorry, I don't have the date on this, but the overall backbone of it is literally a woven felt piece. And why felt? Felt is going to be really important for us because felting is a way that we could potentially upcycle very hard to upcycle type short fiber synthetic materials and mix them in when things are hybrid. It's easier to felt. And then, of course, there's a lot of layers to. So I think, Mae-ling, we're not going to have time to get into all of the details, but I think that I will upload these slides and people can take a look at them on their own time. But there's a lot to be said about the differences. We are if we're talking about upcycling, we're almost always talking about some kind of hybrid, unfortunately. If we were completely one or the other, that would be a lot easier. So that these kinds of blends are difficult to deal with for a lot of reasons, because in the fibers in and of themselves, they have different properties. Okay. What time are we? I'm just getting a text. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're almost at the half hour. Sorry, Mae-ling, that we took so long into all of the students there. But maybe we can open it up for a 3-minute discussion, and then you guys need at least half an hour for the workshop and the assignment. But I will upload these things, and these are just major concepts to think about, which is that issue of deployability, dematerialization, the fold, pneuma, incorporating intelligence into, or potentially weaving different unlike materials together, or felting, as per some of these examples. Also being able to freeze, being able to form. Fabric is an incredible material that could take forms and then fix. The issue is then unfixing. In this case with Gaetano, for example, this is a thermoset, so it's not going to be recyclable after this. But now with emerging bioplastics and biosets and resins, the race is on to try and find liquefiers or solvents or other things that will allow you basically to then unform or unfreeze a structure.
Thank you, Anna. No, I think that that's a wonderful presentation to link a lot of the issues we're seeing around life cycle of textile materials to the building material life cycle. And it's probably a really good note since, next week we're doing our first natural dyes workshop with Sasha Duer. And one of the things that Anna just showed, which we'll be thinking about quite a bit, is qualities with the natural fibers we're working with, whether they're protein-based like silk or cellulose-based like cotton. What are those properties from the moment of harvest that allow us to produce different qualities of products? So, fiber length, their strength, relative to synthetic fibers is something we'll always be comparing. And I know we're focusing on natural fibers, but that control, what we choose, might come from things in your wardrobe, might come from things in Goodwill. Goodwill is obviously, as Anna's saying, giving out a lot of free clothing because I think there's a limit on how many times you can sell things in Goodwill. I think it's 2 or 3 cycles, and then it's like out. You might ship this somewhere else or completely, incinerate or send it to a landfill. So there's a limit there in terms of end of life that we might be able to draw from. Are there any questions just from that last section? I know this is a lot of information to take in, and I think our interdisciplinary panel in a couple of weeks will be the point where a lot of these things that are sedimenting, we'll have the chance to discuss it. But any questions?
Sorry, this is somewhat unrelated, but the panel is the week that everyone in Advanced Studio is away. Let's drop the week. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. Mae-ling, can you repeat that?
We have a schedule conflict which we will solve, but don't worry. Okay. Any other questions related to what we just saw in the last few minutes? Are people starting to bridge, some kind of idea around how the textile design might relate to building material design, particularly with this material inventory that we're looking at? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is that everything that Ali showed, and I'm sorry that you didn't see the first few slides, but again, we'll have the link. But everything that he showed, everything that Juan showed, et cetera, is really at the base of conceptually of textiles. But the question is, how do we start to think about dematerializing? And basically a design for disassembly and reassembly so that we're not necessarily frozen with structures that are both unsafe, carbon intensive, and, taking a ton of materials. That transition between the sort of heavy material and the light material and the interface between them, I think is really, really critical.
Yep. I'm sure there will be a more fruitful discussion soon, but we're going to maybe break for 5 minutes and come back to the workshop. Dita, Juan, Anna, Ali, do you have any last thoughts or comments? And a fascinating presentation, lots to absorb.
Thank you for everyone for sharing this, attending the meeting. And I think the way to go, like, if we don't start with ourselves personally, we cannot change anyone else's way of thinking. And we should go towards slow design instead of design. As I said, if we don't start on our own, cut our t-shirt or stop buying 50 t-shirts a year instead of 2, we cannot change anything.
Yeah, thank you. Now I have a lot of ideas of how to search for solutions to change the trends in construction that are so demanding in water, energy, and materials, and also make unsafe houses. So yes, looking for alternatives, transforming materials that are going to waste. It's a challenge, and I think that will be the future to reintegrate. We should have zero waste after all, and much better quality housing. Thank you for all your presentations.
And I'll just say, I think it's really a short video that we cut short, unfortunately, Dita's first presentation. So I really would just ask you guys, take the extra 7 minutes to see the rest of it, because it's really interesting to see the 7 different architects and the difference in the way that they sort of attack the design brief, both in terms of upcycling old materials, recycling yarn, and giving new designs. So there's 7 completely different designs, and it's really interesting to see the diversity of approach.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody. I think it fully epitomizes all of the tensions in the approaches we're seeing in design, the will to conserve, the will to actually modernize, in quotation marks, the will to integrate or develop hybrids. So there's a lot of different strategies here. Hopefully we'll get to see that throughout the semester. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Dita. Juan.
Thanks, Dita and Juan.
Thank you,
so much
Mae-ling.
for here.
All right, take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. And now, you're going to see what